starting to happen.
You've betrayed their trust, you now realize.
The line's been crossed in the sand and the fire's been fanned. All the people demand to hear the plot that you planned. You won't be trusted. That's right. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is the 13th of March, 2025, a Thursday, and these are the WTF reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, and I'm very happy to be here, although sometimes I wish I didn't have to be. A long time ago, I realized that if you become aware of a lie and you do nothing to expose the lie, you become part of the lie. And I've been blessed with a voice. I've been blessed with a musical talent. I've been blessed with a pretty functional brain. And when I see lies, when I see fraud, when I see something that's wrong, I have to say something about it. I'm sorry. I'm not just going to turn my face away, stick my head in the sand, and ignore it. Like I said, if you're not out there actively exposing lies and fraud, you're part of them. And this is why I get real frustrated with a lot of people out there that are just sitting on their butts waiting for somebody else to do it. It doesn't make any difference what you do. Just do something. Pick an issue, pick a cause, and get involved. Now, my calling is broadcasting and music, and I use music. My lyrics are pretty strong, and if you haven't heard some of my music, do a search. Go to YouTube, type in my name, and listen to some of the music. It's not going to hit your Billboard chart, I guarantee you, because I'm kicking them hard with steel-toed boots, and I'll continue to do so, because I will not hide in the darkness. I'm going to stand in the light, and I hope you do too. Anyway, that said. There's no shortage of material to work with today. I've been making audio clips all morning, and I got so many here that I don't even know where to start with. Of course, the big issue right now that's on everybody's tongue is what's going to happen with the government shutdown. Are they going to vote for the continuing resolution or not? And it's funny because, you've got people on both sides of the aisle that flip-flop. And right now, the focus is on the Democrats. And, the Democrats are saying they're going to shut down the government. And you know why, of course. They want to shut down all the investigation that's going on. Elon Musk is just uncovering so much fraud. And they want it to stop. And there's some Republicans that want it to stop, too. So don't be surprised if they attempt to shut down the government. Now, they didn't want that several months ago. No, they were all for it. The continuing resolution. Nothing's changed in the money, and they were fine with keeping the government going. But now that Trump is in there, now they want to shut the whole thing down. I got a whole bunch of clips here. I'm not quite sure which one to play first, but they're flip-flopping all over the place. But before I get into the government shutdown, let's talk a little bit about the fraud. Now, Bill O'Reilly, I'm not a big fan of Bill O'Reilly. I caught him in a bunch of lies many, many years ago, and I lost respect for the man. Now, he does have some good points. I agree with some of the stuff he says, but I disagree with a bunch of other stuff he says. But a few days ago, he decided to do a fact check on some of the stuff that Trump, Trump gave a speech, it was about a week ago. And he was rattling off a whole bunch of stuff that they had uncovered through the investigation of Elon Musk and Doge. And, of course, a lot of the Democrats are going, no, that didn't happen. So O'Reilly decided to do a little fact check. And here's the results. Let's see. Go ahead and play this.
Let's find 4 things that Donald Trump said were wasteful. And he spent 3 minutes and 17 seconds running down about 20 of them. Pick 4. Let's pick 4 at random, which I did. I did it, and see if it's true or not. That's pretty good, right? That's a fair assessment. First one, $22 billion from Health and Human Services Department to provide free housing and cars, transportation for undocumented migrants. That is true. according to Open the Books, which is monitors government spending. That's true. Second one, 60 million American taxpayer dollars for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. USAID supervised that. It's true. No one knows where the money went. 60 million went to Colombia. Where is it? What did it do? That's why the USAID was closed down. Third one, the Republic of Moldova, which is near Ukraine, received $32 million from the USA to promote a left-wing propaganda operation. True. And again, this was under USAID. Why? Why would you spend that money? All right, and the final one, $42 million for behavior change in Uganda. True. Now, this money was given to Johns Hopkins University in a grant form by the USAID. Well, what kind of behavior changed in Uganda? For American dollars, $42 million. What?
What? How about WTF? How about a punctuation mark, exclamation point? Okay. Yeah, this is going on across the board. And let me see who else was out there talking about the slush funds. A $20 billion slush fund that was set up by Biden. Yeah. Maybe this will help people understand why the Democrats want to shut down the government. They want to stop all these investigations. Listen to this one. Julie Kelly was on with Steve Bannon, and she was explaining this. Here it is.
Yes, Steve, and this is a huge scandal that I will be covering, and hopefully you and I could talk about more. This has to be one of the biggest scandals out of the Biden-Harris regime, and that is this $27 billion quote-unquote climate fund. $20 billion of that was hidden at Citibank, put at Citibank, our money, under this greenhouse gas reduction fund, $20 billion put at Citibank November 1st of 2024, obviously to not only keep accountability away from Republicans in Congress, but of course a potential Donald Trump White House. That money was granted to only 8 nonprofits, climate nonprofits, including one that had just been created by Stacy Abrams, who received $2 billion, but the other one, Climate United, and that's who was in court today before Judge Tanya Chutkan, another one of our favorites, filed a lawsuit because EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin and DOJ FBI is investigating that $20 billion fund that's at Citibank right now, froze disbursement of those funds under suspicions of fraud and other criminal behavior. And then canceled, Lee Zeldin announced last night, canceled the contracts with those 8 climate nonprofits. Now, the one who was in court today, Climate United, led by a former Obama White House official, packed with Democratic activists and party leaders, they received $6.97 billion, Steve, billion dollars.
Oh, my God.
Granted to them. The year before, Steve, the year before, this fund was created in June of 2023 and had less than $100,000 in the bank. Now they are going to this Judge Chutkan, asking for a temporary restraining order to force the EPA and Citibank to give them the money that they insist is theirs.
Unbelievable. And it's across the board, folks. It really is. It seems to be standard operating procedure, SOP. Yeah, that's what it is. For elected officials to start an NGO and some shell companies, and then put their relatives, their wives, their kids, whatever, on the boards of these NGOs, and then they start getting money. I mean, I know I'm oversimplifying it, but that's basically what's been going on. And yes, it's all over the Democratic Party. Yes, it's in the Republican Party as well. But I think this is obvious why the Democrats are now pushing for a shutdown, because they don't want to be exposed. But the thing is that for years, they've been screaming about government waste. Here's a little clip going back a bunch of years. You're going to hear Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer talking about waste in government. Yeah.
We simply must make the cuts in waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare. We owe it to our country.
If we're going to eliminate the waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare, it does mean we're going to cut some of that out. We want to cut the bad stuff and keep the good stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what they said years ago. But now it's all different because they've been benefiting from that waste, fraud, and abuse. In fact, Representative Gill was on with, who was the talk show host? Oh, I forget. But anyway, he was talking about some of the fraud as well. Here it is.
Well, I can tell you what the nonpartisan GAO has identified, and we had a hearing on this earlier today. They've identified what they believe to be about $500 billion just in fraudulent payments across the federal government. That's Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. This is not payments that are legitimately going to people who deserve it and actually should be getting this money. This is fraud. They've identified on top of that $161 billion just last year in what they believe to be improper payments. So there's an enormous amount of waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal government. That's why the DOGE work that they're doing is so important. You know, for decades, Congress has been trying to figure out what's going on at the executive branch where they're spending and doling out all of this money. And finally, we're getting some answers, and I think that the American people are shocked by it. And, I think in the coming months, you're going to see some action from Congress to get rid of this.
I certainly hope so. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of people out there that are getting really PO'd. They're getting really PO'd, pissed off. And for those of you who are offended by that, too bad. Get over it. It's all over the place. And like I said, the hypocrisy is...
Well, I can tell you...
Oh, get out of there. The stench of hypocrisy curls my nose hairs. And, this concept of Doge, this has been around for a long time. It just so happens that Trump actually did something about it. Now, I don't want you to all start thinking, oh, you're a Trump-tard, you're a Trumper. Well, I got some problems with some of the stuff Trump's involved with as well. So I'm not 100%. I've been up the center, for many, many years. But I'll tell you, the Democrats, they're not even Democratic anymore. I don't know what happened to the Democratic Party. But they're absolutely so far left that you can't even call them Americans anymore. They're pushing for communism. But anyway, that's another issue altogether. But this concept of Doge and digging into the government waste and the fraud, this is no new idea. This goes all the way back to the Obama-Biden administration. Here, listen to this.
What should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody. Waste we should be getting rid of, even if we didn't have a deficit. Did you know the federal government pays for a website devoted to a folk music ensemble made up of forest rangers? They're called the Fiddlin' Foresters. I'll put their music on my iPod, but I'm not paying for their website.
Obama even appointed his own Doge czar.
Starting today, I've asked the Vice President to lead a renewed effort to hunt down misspent tax dollars in every agency and department of this government. We're calling it the Campaign to Cut Waste, and I know Joe's the right man to lead it, because nobody messes with Joe.
We're not just eliminating fraud and waste. We hope to be instilling an entire new culture that not only our administration, but every succeeding administration will in fact pursue.
Can you smell the hypocrisy, folks? Can you smell it? Take a deep breath. Ew! Oh, my gosh. So now they're saying that they want a shutdown. The Democrats are pushing for a shutdown, but that's not the way it was a few months ago. Here's Chuck Schumer on the subject of a shutdown.
If the government shuts down, it will be average Americans who suffer most. A government shutdown means seniors who rely on Social Security could be thrown into chaos as the Social Security Administration limits certain services like benefit verifications or fixing errors in payments. Our veterans could see regional VA offices shut down and support services put on halt. Some of our military service members could be forced to work without pay. Families who benefit from WIC and other nutrition programs could see benefits halted.
So, they're defending keeping the government open on one hand, but on the other hand, they want to shut it down. Like I said, that clip was from several months ago, but I wanted to point out the fact that when the CR was up for a vote, they did not want the government shut down. Of course not. And now we know why. Because of all the money that was being shuffled around and stuffed into their pockets. And now that we have a real effort to clean up the government, they want to shut the government down. They just want to stop everything. I wonder. Let's say the vote comes in and they're going to shut the government down. Does that mean that they would shut down Doge? Maybe that's their hope. Maybe that's what they're counting on. If we shut the government down, we can stop Elon Musk. Stop him! Oh, my gosh. And in an unrelated issue, of course, there are protesters out there that are vandalizing and destroying Tesla dealerships and burning up their cars and everything. And President Trump says, hey, look we are against violence. We are against violence, and we will deal with that as if this is, terrorism. Now, the mainstream media, MSNBC, is spinning it. They said, if he was saying that the people out there protesting. No, a protest is different than violence. But then again, maybe they don't know. Maybe the Democrats just don't know the difference. I remember during the riots and all that, they were calling it mostly peaceful. It's you can't make this stuff up. Anyway, here's another clip from Senator Mullins, and this is why I started calling this show the WTF. I'm with the facts, and when you hear the facts, you'll go WTF, and you have every reason to say that. I mean, this country is just going crazy. But anyway, here's Senator Mullin in regard to the shutdown.
Isn't this the same CR, the same spending levels that you voted for in September, the same spending levels that you voted for in December? So what has changed? What's changed is you have President Trump in office rather than President Biden in office, because there's no other argument you can have here. They weren't willing to shut it down. They were okay with these numbers two other times, but this is in 2024. Now that Trump's in office, it's their hatred towards Trump that they're willing to shut down the government for. It's absurd. Why wouldn't they support the policies, the numbers that they voted for underneath Biden?
Why? That's a good question. That's a really good question. I don't know if we'll ever get any answers from it, because they sure as heck are not going to be open for a debate on the issue. But the Democrats just flip-flop all over the place. Here's a montage of a bunch of clips from Democrats. You'll recognize the voices. I don't want to name them all out. There's a whole bunch of them there. But they flip-flop. On one hand, they say, we have to avoid a shutdown at all costs. And that, of course, that was then. But now, we got to shut this down. Here, give it a listen.
We believe in governance. We want to keep government open. A shutdown is very serious.
There are real consequences when the government shuts down. It harms our national security, it harms our economy, and it harms service members, veterans, retirees, and vulnerable communities.
We all know a shutdown is unnecessary and completely avoidable.
The tragedy here is all the civilian employees. It is the American people who are going to suffer.
Border Patrol agents will not be paid. TSA agents will not be paid. Small businesses will be hurt.
Not only is it irresponsible and purposely misleading, it is dangerous precedent to be threatening a shutdown.
There are real people's lives at stake.
It is not normal to hold 800,000 workers' paychecks hostage. It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want.
Our troops deserve better. Our children deserve better. And the American people deserve better.
These chaos agents, they don't have a plan B. They just want to see everything burn.
Shutdown is an extremist policy designed to appeal to an extremist base and hold the whole country hostage.
So if this shutdown, you know who's going to feel the pain? You know who it hurts? You.
Hey, by the way, did you hear AOC in there? It's not normal to shut down the government when you don't get what you want. Ha 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 ha! Oh, my God. Can you smell the hypocrisy? Oh, my gosh. Put some alcohol on that or something. Oh, my gosh. And it's laughable. And I tell you, if you don't laugh, you're going to cry. You know, it's staggering. It's staggering. And, you know, some common sense. And excuse me, I hate to oversimplify, and I hate to be utopian and idealistic and all that. But it just seems to me, and this is common sense, when you elect somebody and put them in a government, and they are going to be public servants. Now, the way I remember, when you had a very rich guy that had the plantation or he had the mansion or whatever, and he lives in this great big house, and, you know, and the servants lived in servants' quarters. Maybe they had a little house next to the mansion or something, you know? But the owner lived in the mansion, and the servants lived in a little servant's quarters, or a room or a house or whatever, a cottage, okay? That's the way it used to be. But somehow, somewhere along the line, we've all been conditioned, we've all been manipulated, we've all been brainwashed to think it's the other way around. Because now, the government officials, they're the ones that are living in the mansions. And we, the people, they're supposed to be serving us. We're too busy trying to find a second nickel so we have two of them to rub together. And meanwhile, the servants, the public servants, are bleeding we, the people, into absolute destitution. When do we, the people, break out the pitchforks and torches and storm the castle? When does that happen? Now, I'm not advocating violence. Don't get me wrong. But I mentioned a couple days ago that I spent some time in South America. I was down in Argentina in a city called San Rafael, about 2.5 hours south of Mendoza. And at one point, the electric company decided that they were going to arbitrarily jack up the electric bills by 50% for everybody. Well, the people said, no, you're not. And they took to the streets with pots and pans. And they were out there dead center in the middle of the city, right where the main intersection is, and they just basically shut it down. They were out there, dun, 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 and they would not stop. And all the businesses, they saying, wait a second, we can't have this. And all the office buildings are going, we can't have this. And the city hall was down there, and the bank was down there, and they said, we can't have this. And what are we going to do? Meanwhile, the people out there going, dang, 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 and all the officials and elected officials got their hands over their ears and are going, oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, guess what? The electric company backed down. Wow, what a concept. Wow. Golly gosh, I wish I thunk of that. Yeah, that's why I wrote some of the music that I wrote. Here's a verse from the song Are We Freer? And it seems to fit. If the shoe fits, wear it.
Working hard to get my pay, quitting time another day. The big game's on and then the fight. Let's see what's on the news tonight. A big election, what's my choice? Doesn't matter, I'm just one voice. So much corruption, nothing's fair. They won't change, why should I care? I'm just hanging on, look out for number one. And on the weekend maybe I can have some fun, yeah. Are things freer in America today than they were a couple years ago?
Broadcast stations we control, induced complacency the goal, and people think that they are free. Distractions broadcast on TV are influence in Washington, make people do what we want done. Eventually when we are through, they'll do just what we tell them to.
Yeah, isn't that the way it is, folks? Broadcast stations we control, induced complacency, the goal. Let people think that they are free. Distractions broadcast on TV. Our influence in Washington makes people do what we want done. Eventually, when we are through, they'll do just what we tell them to. So how's that? How does that fit in with today's schema of the world? Sort of happening, isn't it? Anyway, that said, you money every month on gas. Let's try that again. Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties. Results vary. Yes, results do vary depending upon what year, make, and model of vehicle that you're driving. But either way, no matter what you do, if you're using Get More Tank, you're going to save money. And your car or truck will run a whole lot better. I've been using mine, 6 or 7 months now, and I'm glad I started it because my car runs great and it starts up right up in the morning. And so if you haven't tried it, you really should. Give it a shot. I mean, what do you got to lose? It's only going to cost you $20 if you go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and click on the sponsors page, and you'll see it right there. And you can visit the GetMoreTank.com website. It's got all the data there, all of the numbers, et cetera, and they can show you exactly how much you're gonna save. Depending upon what kind of vehicle you're driving and what your driving habits are, round town versus highway driving. But I promise you start using that stuff, you're going to see 15 to 20% increase in your mileage, and then you do the math. You spend $20, you get 5 tablets. 1 tablet for each tank of gas. That's 5 tank of gas. If you're saving 20% of your gas, that means the 5th tank is free. You spend $20 and you save a tank of gas. How much is your tank of gas? $50-ish, whatever. But the point is in one purchase, you're not only going to save money, but your car or vehicle is going to run better. So it makes sense. And plus, it runs more efficiently. And that means less fuel consumption, less air pollution. I mean, it's a good thing. It's a win-win-win all the way around. You can't lose with this stuff. So go to the website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and get more tank. All right, and while you're there, you might want to check out the Wave Watch. Now, this is something else that is really, really spectacular. A lot of you folks know about Rife technology, frequencies. Yeah, that's what Tesla was screaming about. And sound frequencies, they're finding out more and more and more that sound has a profound effect on just about everything. It affects water. It affects the plants. Biblically, God spoke the world into existence, and God said, "Let there be light." And God said, it was about speaking, vocalizing. Okay? Well, the Wave Watch is based upon Rife technology, and it has thousands of frequencies stored in this little wristwatch. And you can wear the watch, and there's a manual that shows you what the different frequencies are and what it can help you with. Now, I'm not here to tell you that it's going to treat or cure anything, but it's definitely worth, eyebrows will go up into your hairline when you start learning about how Rife technology, how it works, and why it works. And this little device that you wear on your wrist is going to put frequencies into your body. It's got little tiny speakers, little bitty speakers, and they're going nee, 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 nee. And you might not hear it, but it's going into your wrist. Your wrist is about 80% water. Your body's 80% water. Your whole body's going to hear it. And that means if you've got parasites or pathogens, they're going to hear them too. And some of them are going to really not like hearing those things, you know. So anyway, hey, check it out. Do your own research. Check out The Wave Watch. And I think you just might like it. And if you purchase through our website, you're going to save $100 right there. So again, go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and then go to the advertisers page and do a little bit of investigation. All right. That said, getting back to the issues at hand, I got to set this up. This is funny. In Florida, they were having a board meeting, and the chairman of the board was going to introduce the state representative, Tim McBride. Okay, I got to set this up. You got to hear this. I might have to play this a couple times. This is so good. The chairman goes to introduce Representative Tim McBride. Now, what you need to know about Tim McBride is that he's a transgender, so he doesn't want to go by Mr. McBride. So anyway, but the chairman's not going to have any of that. As a guy dressing up like a woman, I mean, we all know what the issue here is with transgenderism and women's rights and men in women's bathrooms and men in women's sports. And a lot of us have had it up to here. You know, it's the old give them an inch and they take a mile. I didn't care what you guys were doing 20 years ago. Go ahead and dress up and drag. Make pretend you can identify any way that you want. But you cannot force me to play your make pretend game. You know, I mean, anyway, so the chairman introduces McBride. McBride responds, she said, "Thank you, Madam Chair." Anyway, I'm going to give it away. This is a riot. Listen to this.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I got to stop it right there. Did you catch that initial express? Yeah, I'm sorry. She's not from Florida. She's from Maryland. I misspoke. So the chairman introduces Mr. McBride, and Mr. McBride responds by saying, "Thank you, Madam Chair." And then one of the board members starts to have a hissy fit. Okay, I'll start this over again. This is choice. This is wonderful. Listen to this.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply...
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America, please?
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency?
Oh, my God.
I mean, I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this
You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
This hearing is adjourned.
He's not going to have any of this. I don't know who the board member is. You have no decency. You have to announce our duly representative properly. And I could see the roll in his eyes and said, "Oh, my God, not this." He just put his gavel down. This meeting's adjourned. I'm telling you, it's just insanity, folks. But it was worth a laugh anyway. Anyway, getting back. I laughed so hard. I've been sharing that with everybody. Anyway, getting back to this issue about fraud in our government and the looming shutdown, Ron Paul was discussing USAID. And by the way, of course, if you've been paying attention, there's so much fraud that's coming out now about USAID. I mean, so much fraud. What was it? It reported a couple days ago there was $40 million a week. $40 million a week going to the Taliban. Let that settle in. $40 million per week. And we're paying for it. That's just one. They're finding hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of payments going out by the millions and in some case billions of dollars No wonder the Democrats want to shut it down, because they're up to their freaking eyeballs in stuffing their pockets. Anyway, here's Ron Paul on the issue of USAID.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the weekly report. Audit USAID, then shut it down.
Okay, I'm going to pause it for a second, Brooks. For some reason, there's one channel that's not working, and I'm not sure if you're getting the good channel or the bad channel, so I'm going to stick them in another channel, and let's see what happens.
As of this writing, when you attempt to access the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID website or social media pages, you are informed that this site can't be reached. The media reports that the new Trump administration has not only frozen USAID activities, but may be planning on bringing it back under control of the U.S. State Department. Other reports, including statements by Elon Musk, suggest that it will be closed completely. If true, the closing of USAID may be one of the most significant changes President Trump has made among the many dramatic actions in his first couple of weeks in office. Many Americans may still have the idea that USAID is a government agency delivering relief at disaster site overseas. They may still remember the bags of rice or grain with the USAID logo on them, but that is not USAID. USAID is a key component of the U.S. government's regime change operations worldwide. USAID spends billions of dollars every year propping up NGOs overseas that function as shadow governments, eating away at elected governments that the U.S. interventionists want to overthrow. Behind most U.S. foreign policy disasters overseas, you will see the fingerprints of USAID. From Ukraine to Georgia and far beyond, USAID is meddling in the internal affairs of foreign countries, something that would infuriate Americans if it was happening to us. When President Trump ordered a 90-day pause in USAID activities, we quickly learned just how pernicious the agency really is. The U.S. media reported that Ukrainian press outlets were scrambling to keep their doors open when the U.S. dollar stopped flowing. It is reported that 90% of the media outlets are funded by the U.S. government. This means that there is virtually no independent media in Ukraine, only fake news outlets willing to toe the U.S. administration's propaganda line.
Well, you know what? People have been saying for a long time, Ron Paul was right. Ron Paul was right. Back in 2008, when I was still doing the Power Hour radio show with Joyce, and we were traveling all over the country, we had a 40-foot MCI bus. It was a 1968. Oh, no, that was a 70. The other one was a 68. We had a 1970 MCI diesel bus, and it was a conversion. It was an old conversion, but we'd gotten it for a good deal, and I was traveling all over the country doing remote broadcasts. And anyway, at one point, I was down in what was it? Oh, gosh, at the Silver Eagle Tap House in, I think it was Keeney or McKinney, something like that, in Texas. And we had Ron Paul banners all over the bus. We were, out there supporting Ron Paul. And, of course, the mainstream media was just poo-pooing everything that he was saying. But like you just heard him say, USAID has been influencing the media. Now, USAID influencing media. That's important. Because if you look at the U.S. media, who's influencing the media in this country? Now we get into AIPAC. Now we get into the Israeli influence upon this country. Now, I don't want anybody out there saying, oh, here comes the anti-Semitism. If you've been listening to this broadcast, you know doggone well that the Israelis are not the Semites. And by the way, that's hitting the mainstream. I'm hearing a lot more podcasters out there drawing attention to the ancestry study that was done by Johns Hopkins University, and this is going all over the place. People are really starting to figure this out. It's called the noticing. Have you noticed? Yeah, the ancestry study showed that 97.5% of Israelis are not indigenous. They're from Eastern Europe and from North America. As a matter of fact, as long as I have it over here, let me get this little list out here. Not to sound like the late Rush Limbaugh, but I got a list right here of all the major cabinet members in Israel. Now, this is from a year ago, so there may be a couple of changes. But right off the bat, at the top, the Israeli president, Isaac Herzog, he's from Ireland. Benjamin Netanyahu is from Poland. Yoav Gallant, he was a defense minister. He's not there anymore, but he was from Poland as well. Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister, he's from the Ukraine. Itamar Ben-Gvir, the national secretary minister, he's from Iraq. Eli Cohen, foreign minister, he's from Morocco. Yair Lupid is the opposition leader. He's from Serbia. Benny Gantz, former defense minister and war cabinet member, was from Hungary. Let's see, Gilad Erdan, Israeli UN representative, is from Romania. And let's see, Mark Regev, diplomat and advisor, he lived in Australia and in Germany. So far, I haven't found one of them that's from Israel. Tzipi Hotoveli, sorry, he's an Israeli ambassador to the UK. He's from Georgia, not the U.S. Georgia, but from Russia, Georgia. Anyway, that's just a list of the cabinet members from Israel. Not one of them are from the Middle East. So the whole world is starting to get on this. And it's not boding well. And a lot of people now are starting to say, hey, wait a second, why is the U.S. cozying up to Israel? Now, it's not that we hate Jews. It's got nothing to do with that. What it does have to do is what's been going on in Israel and Palestine for the past year and a half, ever since October 7th of 23. And we now know, and by the way, if you haven't seen the documentary, go to Rumble, do a search, and let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, it's right here. Do a search. Hamas, October 7 attack on Israel was 100% an inside job. Now, a lot of people are starting to talk about this now. Of course, a year ago, no, you're a conspiracy theorist, we got to ban you, we got to dox you, we got to do that, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's all coming out now. It's all coming out. And if you watch that documentary, and this documentary interviews IDF soldiers and people who were there, and now it's becoming common knowledge that, yes, that entire part of the wall was shut down and vacated, and all the security was turned off. Now, why would that happen? Why, oh dear God, why would that happen? Could it possibly be they were exercising the Hannibal Directive? Which, by the way, that's a military term that basically says you attack your own people to justify a war. Sort of like a false flag. But the bottom line here, again, go to Rumble, do a search. Hamas October 7 attack on Israel was 100% an inside job. You will find some really shocking information there, and then you start to understand why, and you start to put the puzzle pieces together. So why is that pertinent? Because right now in this country, there are people all over the country that are protesting against genocide. The annihilation, the extermination of human beings. And I don't care if they're Muslims, I don't care if they're Jews, I don't care if they're Christians, they're human beings. And they're going in there and, quote unquote, mowing the lawn. That's their term, by the way. They have to go do that occasionally. And they've been doing that occasionally since 1948. But the bottom line here is that people are out there protesting against genocide. And the way the media spins it, including all the conservative so-called alternative networks, and I'm disgusted with all of them when they pull that crap, when they say, oh, these pro-Hamas demonstrators. No, it's not pro-Hamas. Hamas was created by Israel in the first place. As a matter of fact, let me see. Where is that clip? Clayton Morris on his program Redacted was referring to this a little while ago. Here, listen. This is Clayton Morris. Here he is.
Well, if you wanted to know why Israel stood down for 7 hours and allowed Hamas to carry out an attack, well, on October 7th, well, we all now know exactly why. It was all part of a plan to use it as a catalyst to permanently take over Gaza, of course, and the West Bank. Yes, according to Israeli leaked documents, the plan is to ethnically cleanse Gaza of all Palestinians, steal all of the land, of course, steal the minerals, steal the trillions of dollars of natural gas and other minerals off the coast, build new hotels and resorts in Gaza. After all, if you're well studied and educated, of course, you know that Israel and the United States created and funded Hamas, well documented. Netanyahu bragged about it, of course. It was a brilliant plan, actually, if you think about it, right? Create an enemy, create a bad guy to rally around and fight. It's like what the Wizard of Oz says, right? You need a good enemy. Everyone needs a good enemy to rally around. And if you fund them and you create them, it's the perfect catalyst. And it's just like what we did with Al-Qaeda. So here's Ron Paul to explain just a little bit of the history of how we created and funded Hamas.
But there's a political liability, which I think is something that we fail to look at because too often there's so much blowback from our intervention in areas that we shouldn't be involved in. You know, Hamas, if you look at the history, you'll find out that Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat. And you say, well, yeah, that was better then and served its purpose, but we didn't want Hamas to do this. So then we as Americans say, well, we have such a good system, we're going to impose this on the world. We're going to invade Iraq and teach people how to be Democrats. We want free elections. So we encourage the Palestinians to have a free election. They do, and they elect Hamas. So we first, indirectly and directly through Israel, help establish Hamas. Then we have election. Then Hamas becomes dominant, so we have to kill them.
So we have to kill them, right? So that's exactly how it works. So the
Oh, okay. I'm just going to cut that off anyway. The issue here is that it's all starting to come out, and it's going mainstream. Of course, I was talking about this a year and a half, about a year and a half ago, right after it happened. And, of course, people say you're an anti-Semite, you hate Jews and all that. No, most of the Jews in this world have no flaming clue about what's going on in world affairs. And the same thing with most Christians. You know, they're not paying that much attention. You know, like I said, I was quoting from that song a little earlier in the broadcast, working hard to get my pay, quitting time another day, big games on, and then the fight. Let's see what's on the news tonight. A big election, what's my choice? Doesn't matter, I'm just one voice. So much corruption, nothing's fair. They won't change. Why should I care? And that's the way it is. Most Jews don't have a clue. So I'm not going to sit here and condemn people of a particular faith for the actions by a rogue regime that's taken over Israel and wraps themselves in a flag that represents Judaism as an impenetrable shield. You can't say anything against Netanyahu because that means you're an anti-Semite Hamas supporter. Bullcrap. WTF? Why can't folks figure this crap out? Well, that's because they're busy watching. You're getting ready for March Madness. That's the priority. And meanwhile, this country is going down the tubes. And it's and you know, like I said, the Israeli influence in this country is obscene. They're only 2% of the population, and yet you look at how many of Israeli representatives. Or, well, Stu Peters is putting a blanket around calling them all the Jews. The Jews. Go get the Jews. I'm not on board with that. I do subscribe to the idea that many of them are Israeli sympathizers, and for whatever reason, maybe it's those three magic words: bribery, coercion, blackmail. Maybe that's why there's so much foot dragging with the Epstein tapes coming out, or Epstein list coming out. Or the videos, or the P. Diddy videos. Why is it taking so long to get that out there? Because there's so many people out there that are victims of bribery, coercion, blackmail. Yeah, bribery. That's also known as lobbying. And I'm really disgusted when I look at, let me see, what was that website? Oh, I don't think I still have it here. No, I don't have it up here. APAC Tracker, I think it is. You can also go to opensecrets.org, and you can look up your representative and see where they get their campaign contributions from. And I was really disgusted when I started looking at that, and I saw that some of the people that I thought were on board with America First, huh? Oh, really? Oh, really? Well, Representative Chip Roy, bless your heart, how come you got an Israeli flag and not an American flag? Hey, Harriet Hagman, how come, all of you guys and a lot of the other representatives, they scurry away when the reporter from it wasn't Muckrakers, from the Stu Peters Network, went into the halls of Congress, and I mentioned this a couple days ago, going up to the congressional representatives and asking a simple question. Is it America first or is it Israel first? And they scurry away. They don't answer. I know I've mentioned this, and I'll continue to mention this, because people have got to become aware of what the heck is going on. This is the United States of Israel now. That's what's happened in this country, because their influence is not just in the media, and it's not just in the government. It's in manufacturing. It's in communications. It's in agriculture. It's in pharmaceuticals. It's everywhere. They've taken over this country. And you know what? They don't have good ideas for this country. They want to destroy this country. If you look at what some of the rabbis that are reading from the Talmud, not the Torah, but the Talmud. If you haven't done any research into the Talmud, keep your eyes open, folks, because they do not like the West at all. Not just the United States, but the entire West. Because if we're not one of them, we are goyim. We are less than dogs in their eyes. And they have their own set of rules on how they treat the goyim, including goyim children. Oh, it's nasty, folks. It is nasty. But you've got to open up your eyes and understand that. And I know that there's some people in my particular social circle that, are really opposed to even discussing this. Can't even bring this subject up. Because, again, it's really hard for people to break down their whole schema of the world, and for them to have to change, for them to have to realize that, yes, they've been fooled. Like Mark Twain said, it's always easier to fool people than it is to convince them that they've been fooled. And a lot of times, Stockholm Syndrome kicks in when people, unfortunately, when people have a schema of the world, they built their entire house of beliefs on a foundation, and they found out that the foundation is faulty, and the house is going to fall down. You got to start over. It's like the professor that's been working on a mathematical equation, and he's got his entire blackboard. He's been doing, this and that, and he's got this equation equals so-and-so divided by this, and then he gets all the way to the bottom and realizes that somewhere in that equation, there was a mistake. Wow. That you have to erase the whole board and start over again. And to some people, that's just too much to take. Well, guess what, folks? You better open up your eyes, because that's what's happening. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's installment of the WTF Reports. I'm Dave vonKleist. I hope you're enjoying the broadcast, and if you are, please share it with your friends and family. There are voices of sanity out there, and hopefully you'll like my style of broadcasting and the music that I provide. A little bit of sugar, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. And Lord knows we need medication in the sense of a big truth pill. That's why this is Red Pill 101 Radio. That said, God bless you all. Stay safe and stay free. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless you all.